This footage was never intended for release. It was part of a private inspection conducted in 2019 by a contracted cleanup crew. The job was clear: photograph the remaining contamination zones, document damage, and leave. They were not told about the disappearances. The Aderholt Processing Facility was once a vital node in the industrial sector of eastern Ontario. Operated from 1976 to 2004, it specialized in chemical preservatives for agricultural use, mostly dealing with nitrates, polymer compounds, and volatile stabilizers that required precise containment. When the plant was shut down following a failed safety audit, the public explanation was structural degradation and cost inefficiency, but locals recall the shutdown came almost overnight, with very little decommissioning, and no severance offered to its last wave of employees. 7 of those employees were never heard from again. Their names are not recorded on any of the official shutdown logs. The company never made a public statement acknowledging their absence. In the decade that followed, Aderholt gained a reputation, not just as another rusting shell of industrial decline, but as a place you didn't go near after dark. Contractors refused jobs there. Utility workers filed incident reports about strange floor vibrations and power irregularities when passing near the facility, despite all mains being disconnected. Locals reported hearing faint tapping sounds from within the building, often described as like knuckles crawling over metal, though no animal nests were ever found. Most chalked it up to methane pockets, echo chambers, or leftover fumes trapped in the vent systems, but not everyone was convinced. In early 2019, a freelance inspection team was hired through a third party to document the state of the building before possible demolition. The team, composed of 2 industrial assessors, 1 safety officer, and a photographer, was never named. Their report was brief, but incomplete. Their images, however, were recovered. The first 5 images show nothing out of the ordinary: collapsed roofing panels, rust-eaten door frames, long corridors blackened by mold and decay. But by image 6, something shifts. On the far ceiling above a corroded stairwell, a faint branching discoloration is visible at first glance. It resembles water damage or aged insulation. But upon closer zoom, the pattern seems organic, like a network of vessels. Photographer took several shots of this formation from different angles. Each image appears slightly altered. The tendrils seem to extend further in each subsequent frame, despite the shots being taken within the same 30-second window. The safety officer allegedly commented on a strange vibration felt in the floor beneath that stairwell. No fault lines or subsidence were found, but within the internal voice memo logs of the inspection team, one clip was tagged simply, "Pulsing sound unknown source." When played, a low, almost rhythmic thrum can be heard. Not mechanical, not wind. It's faint, almost imperceptible, but those who've heard it describe a visceral unease, like something beneath the concrete was breathing. There were no photographs taken after that floor. No footage recovered beyond the timestamp of 3:27 p.m. All team members were confirmed to have left the facility, except the photographer. No explanation was given. The investigation was closed without incident. But in the months that followed, the images leaked, and more importantly, new ones emerged. From urban explorers, from bored teenagers breaking in for dares, from drone hobbyists testing cameras near industrial sites. Most showed nothing. But some, only a few, contained glimpses, not always clear, not always consistent, but always in the ceiling, always above, always watching. One of the earliest public images tied to the Aderholt rumors surfaced on an obscure internet forum in late 2020. The post had no caption, only the coordinates of the plant and a single blurry photo. In the image, a decaying corridor, a cracked overhead beam, and something like veins stretching from the edge of a ceiling vent. Most dismissed it as mold or a Photoshop hoax. Few users pointed out something disturbing. If you adjust the contrast, you can see something curled in the shadows above the vent. A limb, perhaps. Something long, hairless, tensed, like it's ready to pull itself forward. The thread was deleted within hours, but by then it had been reposted, copied, circulated. Some called it the thread crawler. Others simply said, it lives in the ceiling. In January of the following year, an amateur film crew entered the facility to record a mockumentary about the site's reputation. Their footage, though staged for YouTube horror, includes a moment where the crew member holding the boom mic stares upward. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't scream. He just goes quiet. The camera shakes as they laugh and mock him. But in that few seconds before the movement, just before the shot blurs, a figure is visible, clinging upside down, on the rafters, barely lit, motionless. It wasn't part of their skit. The video stayed up for 6 hours before being pulled by the uploader. According to a comment left under the re-upload, he wouldn't come back inside after we left. He just sat outside the car with his eyes closed for 30 minutes. Said his skin was vibrating. As more footage surfaced, a pattern emerged. The creature, if it is one, never appears in the same form. Not clearly, not consistently. In some clips, only the vein structures are visible, branching out across ceiling panels and walls, pulsing faintly as if alive. In others, a humanoid shape seems to emerge only when the camera passes through a narrow corridor or when the footage is slowed down to a crawl. Its limbs are always too long. Its spine curves in reverse, and its head, when seen at all, appears smooth and eyeless like a face pulled too tight over bone. Several reports mention a specific behavioral response from the structure itself. Ceiling tiles sag when no one is beneath them, then return to normal. The air feels heavier near old vent ducts, and most alarmingly, old pipes in the area resonate faintly, producing an internal rhythm that matches the human heartbeat. One clip, submitted anonymously to a digital urban legend archive, shows a construction contractor exploring the rear annex of the Aderholt site. As he scans upward with a flashlight, the beam crosses over what looks like an open crawl space. In that moment, just a single frame, a hand is visible, not reaching, not clawing, just resting. Fingers stretched unnaturally wide across the frame, almost like it's listening. Experts who reviewed the footage noted no editing or superimposition. The contractor who submitted the clip refused to return to the site. He claimed the veins started appearing in his own apartment, first on the bathroom ceiling, then along the wall above his bed. Then they stopped. He hasn't posted since. A second anonymous report, uploaded 6 months later, details a similar encounter. A former site engineer returned out of curiosity. He wore a body-mounted camera and planned to live stream the walkthrough. He never reached the second floor. In the final frame of the feed, frozen as the signal cuts, his body camera catches a shape dropping silently from a ceiling vent behind him, not falling, not lunging, just descending head first, like it's being lowered by something. The footage ends there. No confirmed deaths have been linked to Aderholt. No official complaints have been filed. The building remains padlocked by the city's industrial zoning board, but the locks are old and people still slip through. Some claim the creature is a hallucination brought on by toxic residue. Others believe it's something older than the facility itself, something that used the factory as a shell, a skin to hide in. But the truth may be simpler. It may not be a creature at all, not a living thing in the way we understand. What if it's part of the building now? What if those vein-like marks aren't damage but circulation? And what if every time someone steps inside, it feels them? There is one last piece of footage, the most debated, the most dissected. It doesn't show the creature directly. In fact, many viewers miss it entirely. The camera is static, mounted in a hallway near what used to be the site's central air control system. For 4 minutes, the frame doesn't change. Dust drifts. Light flickers. A door swings slightly on its hinge. And then, very slowly, something on the ceiling shifts. It's not a shadow. It's not damage. It's the texture. It starts to ripple. Frame by frame, when viewed at 400% zoom, you can see it, the outline of a rib cage, spanning almost the full width of the corridor ceiling, embedded, fused, as if the walls themselves had grown bones. It doesn't move again, not during that footage, not in any of the clips that followed. But once you've seen it, the building stops looking like a building. It begins to look like a shell, a husk, something that used to be human-made until something else took over. When asked why demolition plans for Aderholt stalled, the city cited environmental safety and asbestos concerns. But internal records suggest something stranger. Multiple demolition contractors reported equipment failure when inside the building. Perimeter, sparks from engines, burnt fuses, ladders slipping from seemingly stable ground. One worker claimed he heard something breathing inside a sealed concrete pillar. Eventually, the site was fenced off entirely, No new permits issued, no public statements released. But there are still access points. The gate on the south side has no lock. The roof near the collapsed boiler vent has a gap wide enough to drop a small drone through, and the structure still stands, quiet, waiting. If you go looking for it, you may not find it. Not in the way you're expecting. You won't hear footsteps, you won't hear voices, but you might hear something softer, something beneath the concrete, something pulsing. And if you do, just leave. Because once it knows you're there, it might never let go.